this is Kenny Nguyễn. I'm a visual artist based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you to the Vietnamese American Society for Creative Arts and Music has invited me to this talk art series. So today I would like to discuss more about my work, the paintings, sculptures that I have been doing, and maybe discuss some of the specific works that I would like to share with you guys. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comment or send the email directly to my studio. So, born and raised in Vietnam, in South Vietnam, where I grew up and go to school and have a lot of memories, beautiful childhood in Vietnam. I was told since I was very little that I'm gonna move to the US to reunite with a home big family here. It doesn't happen until 10 years after. So it's such a really big difference to move to this country when I was in my early 20s and have to deal with the shocking change of the environments, the change of the job and the cultures. And I feel like during that time I very being isolated, very like I can't find myself home. In a different way, you will feel like you're being homeless in a way. And so from that, I began to go back to the art. I went to the School of Art and Architecture in Ho Chí Minh City. I was studying there for 3 years in the fashion design. And then when you go back here, the environment is such a big difference, and also the barrier of the language. I didn't speak English back then, and I really tried to communicate it with people through my art. And that was the time that I picked up the brush again and started working on a very small scale painting in my apartments. And then I went back to art school. I found my way back to school and studied fine art at University of North Carolina in Charlotte. I graduated with a BFA degree in paintings. So long story short, I always obsessed working with fabric, doing different things, working with the materials. And since then, I just try to figure out a way how to push the limit of the materials to see what it could done for me in a very different way, in a very unique way. So that's why I come up with the Silk Piece series. The reason I chose silk because I think it holds such a beautiful cultural reference where I come from in Vietnam, and also it's a very delicate and perfections materials. I think of silk as something represent for the cultural root and also a metaphor for my cultural identities, which is, I was seeking to find that in my works. And most of the time, when you look at the work, it's not specific there because my painting is not narrative or either have any specific subjects in there. When you look at the whole piece, actually you will see it draw you in with the materials, with the foam, or with these lines, the colors. And I think from that, people draw attention to want to know more about the work. So in most of the time, my work is speaking as a process of how it made, what the material from. But the material now become the message. So a lot of people walk into this sculptural piece and start wondering what it made from. When I told them it made from silk, and so a lot of people were surprised about that. How can a piece of very delicate material, fabric, can be a sculptural or can be a big painting in a very large scale. And I think that's just the beautiful connections that people have that immediately with the piece, without seeing any image or any story, but the story are being connected to people in some way. So I bring in 3 specific pieces that I want to talk about today. One of the pieces, the first one is titled Infinite Threads, which is a very large scale, colorful pieces that I have been made during my residency in Vermont Studio Centers in Vermont. So during that time, when I was in my first residency in Vermont, it was a beautiful winter in the mountains, whereas all I see is just a solid white color of snow. And I packed all the materials and all these tools with me to go to residency and stay there for a whole month to make it work. So I be prepared for that, but for some reason I just draw into the silk. And by that time I haven't started the silk piece series yet. I'm still working on some very flat, very detailed, traditional silk paintings. I was sitting in my studio and staring at the material for hours. Don't know what to do with it. And I start to break them down, just tear them apart. And so I started cutting different pieces of fabric from a whole big sheet of fabric that I bring with me in the luggage. Which is the cool things, when you're thinking about the material to making art, it don't have to be, something like a stretching canvas or sepia panels. Which I chose the materials as silk. I could be very easy to string both them back and forth. So with a piece of silk, I cut them apart. I just tear them up from a very big piece to a single strap of silk. So now I have a tons of just very transparent, very thin, delicate piece of fabric. And I decided to soak it in acrylic paint. That's when it's happened on the studio floor. Something very unexpected thing happened when you soaking the fabric into the canvas. When it dried up, it just left behind a very beautiful textures, a very beautiful marks, and very unique to me that no material can do that but silk. And the great thing is, this piece of paintings on the floor, after it dry, I can sculpt it on the wall. And also the idea why it had to be sculptural, because the influence from my fashion design career background that gave me the opportunity to, now I can work in with the fabric, maybe not on the body, but on the wall. And instead of using the body, I'm using the walls as my imagination body, and then I start to sculpt in it. So the whole process of deconstructions and reconstructions materials as a way of I'm mimicking my personal story from such an outsider who come here and relearning the language, relearning the cultures, and try to be a part of the new environment. So the idea is, from a whole piece of fabric, now it will be cutting them apart, and then I will put them up together. But the result is surprisingly, it turned out something completely new, completely different, and completely more exciting to look at. The second piece is the Flame Keeper. So this specific piece that have a very strong contrast color scheme, I realized that I don't use brush in the painting anymore. I don't use the very traditional methods of paintings. How do I make this more effective? And how do I make this look like paintings with dimensions? So obviously on this piece, I start with some very bold color block of colors, orange, black, and a flash of blue or pink. And the cool things about all these silk pieces is it don't have to be in a specific shape. It don't have to be in a rectangular or a square. So that's why I decided to jump off a corner. You know, the impressions when you see the piece and all those colors start to popping. In addition, if you sculpt it in variety different way. For example, this piece when I sculpted in my studio versus when you look at these images when I have a sculpt in an office space or a corporate office client space. So the transformations is constantly changing, you know, from one state to another state. And I intentionally design my silk piece this way. So it could adapt with the space or the environment that it's in. So every time, often when I take this to the show, it can be installed in a variety of different ways. And sometimes it could be an upside down paintings, or it could be at the corner, or it could be, you know, on the ceiling dripping down. It's have the ability to adapt with the environment. And the third painting's titled White Noise. I think I live in America for more than 10 years now. And there's a day that I just sit in my studio and thinking about, it's a lot of memory, just about fading away. So sometimes I wonder, you know, how do I recall all of those memories? It's a very abstract thing to think about. And most often it's just, you know, changing because you live in the environment that keep you just move on and move on. And that's a part of being an artist that I love. You have time to reflect on yourself. You have time to explore in it. Things that people that often think about, or things that it intrigue you. It's make you to be a better person, or to be collect inspirational figures. And so, you know, when I was sitting in my studio one day, I was thinking about, why do I forget all the memories? You know, these things that I have connected with for a long time. And now it's just like a little white noise. It just had no sounds. And I don't know how to spread all the paintings. So then, once again, I started cutting the fabric with a smaller scales. And just start with a black and white colors. I think all of it just become woven together in a very complicated web. Maybe that's a web of memories. Many people told me that's what they see. But to me, you know, the rhythm, the forms, and the material, it's kind of like a message itself. Now, when I pick up a piece of silk, I've never thought I'm gonna make a painting out of it. And when people look at my work, they don't recognize the materials until I told them to. So to me, being an artist is also put out a challenge for people to think about what they see and to draw people's attention to know more about the histories, know more about the cultures. And here I really try to represent for the Vietnamese cultures. So I think at the end, my work is really a hybrid, a combination of not completely traditional Vietnamese cultures, but also a margin of the culture, the thing that I have observed here by living in America, have a lot of friends, relationships, and the connecting with the people and the cultures here. Thank you, the Vietnamese American Society for Creative Art and Music have made this talk art series. It's not so and very easy for the younger generations living in America to access to this. And I feel that we would have a better connections since we all living very spread out. And I always want to do this for the younger generations of Vietnamese American. Have the opportunity to learn more about especially the art and the cultures. And I hope one day, if you're watching this video, I hope one day you can see my works and also other artists' works in person, so you can experience the art in the most direct way, and hope you will enjoy the talk. If you have any questions, please just leave in the comments or send emails through my contact. Thank you so much.